Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
To a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It is a Monday, as I said. That means JC, Johnny Cornell, will join us. Second half of the show, we're going to talk to Gator Golf coach JC Deacon, talk about his career, his coaching career, his team, and obviously the U.S. Open. But let's go straight now to the Titan Amar hotline, and we're joined by JC. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Yeah, another great weekend of sports, QB, and now we are inside of 7 days before the University of Florida and the other SEC schools kick off their season. So this is what we've been holding on for, and here it is. And on top of that, we're going to have about 4 days, QB, with no rain. So I'm just thrilled about this whole week that's coming. I'm sitting outside, and it feels like it's about 69 degrees out here. So as you would always make fun of me saying it's football weather soon, and we're getting ready for
I've never understood that saying, that phrase.
You don't worry about it. It's what us fans talk about.
It's just fine. It's the dumbest phrase in maybe in all of sports. When those people up in north, it's 22 degrees outside, wind blowing 85 miles an hour, and it's snowing. This is football weather. No, it's not. It's for damn weather for bears to go hibernate in. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, QB, you're just
football weather. Football weather. What is
in Florida
perfect
too long,
football
QB.
weather?
I would say the perfect football weather is defined as about 55 degrees, clear and breezy, and just a nip in the air that gets you excited to be out of the summertime and out of that 90-degree humidity and just enjoying the outdoors, watching football, tailgating before the game, and celebrating another big win. That's how I define it. So
you think it needs to be 55 degrees? See, so you can wear your old Letterman's jacket? I don't agree with that.
You don't have to agree with it.
Anyway, I guess it's football weather outside. So
that's right.
Before we talk college football, I got to congratulate JC. His long shot, which really wasn't a long shot, won the U.S. Open.
QB,
my long shot was a huge long shot and came in second. My three guys did finish higher than JC's three, but his guy won. But yes, congrats to Bryson DeChambeau for winning. He gets on my nerves a little bit, but he's a good player.
Well, QB, you don't know him, and he doesn't know you, so I don't know why
he can still get on my nerves.
Well,
he can still get on my nerves the way he goes about it. It drives me crazy.
And when we did these picks, it was about picking the winner, not the aggregate compilation of scores.
But we had to pick a long shot, and Bryson DeChambeau was like 10-1 to win.
Okay, so that's not bad. You get $10 to win 100.
Mine was like 39-1 to win.
That's nobody's complaining who took him yesterday or before the tournament, and he shot a 67, and he was clearly the best golfer yesterday and had the best round. And really, all you have to do in these tournaments is what he did. And I think what that showed was you just stick around until you get within shooting distance or shouting distance on the final day and hope it goes your way. And that's what happened. And unlike Mickelson, when he lost it in 2006, DeChambeau just played really good, smart, fun. I mean, you shoot 67 on that course when everybody else is in the mid-70s, and you are clearly the U.S. Open champion. So I'm happy for the guy because I think he takes a unique approach to golf. It's nothing that I could subscribe to. I can't even figure it out because he uses so many metrics when he decides how he's going to hit the ball or where he's going to hit the ball. But he's a good guy. I mean, this guy is he's well liked on the tour, and I think he's a good American golfer who has really shown us that he's capable of winning a major finally. So I'm glad to see it happen. I'd rather see him win than some of these other guys, to tell you the truth.
Well, see, I'm not against the guy. I was pulling for Matt Wolff. I just love his game.
Well, he's going to win, QB. You don't have to worry about Matt Wolff. I know I don't. To win. Okay, so
Matt Wolff. Matt Wolf has played now in 2 majors in his lifetime, and he's been in like the top 5 or top 10, and he's still your reigning NCAA champion because he won the championship.
Yes. Well,
but nobody else has won it since him.
And I heard, too, that DeChambeau is one of the only guys to win the U.S. Open, the U.S. Amateur, and the NCAA National Championship in college. And I can't remember who the other guy – it may have been Tiger Woods, actually. So yeah, these guys are great golfers, and these are exceptional conditions that they play in to win these tournaments, and that's why the U.S. Open is such a worthy championship, because it's the hardest tournament to win. And in my opinion, with the way the courses are set up.
All right, so JC, what did you think about? Let's go to college football first. What stood out in your mind with college football this past weekend?
What stood out in my mind was the improvement of Miami from week 1 to week 2, and I'm not ready to call them the ACC Coastal Champions or the ACC Atlantic Champions yet, but I am willing to say that at least they took their show on the road and looked pretty good. Relative to how they played in week 1. And that's when, as a coach, you are seeing improvement in your team as you go through the progression of weeks. And I think Miami showed us that in this particular week. There was also some pretty good games. The game of the week for you, Marshall and Appy State, turned out to be a pretty good head knocker, and Marshall pulled that one out and won it by 4. But that was the game, to me, QB, that really stood out because of how they improved from week 1 to week 2. And I think they're going to have their way with Florida State next weekend.
Well, I agree. I thought Miami looked good. But here's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what Louisville was doing defensively from a schematic standpoint. It was some of the most unsound defense I've ever seen at the collegiate level. There were tons of busts in the coverage, but I'm not going to jump on the Miami bandwagon yet. Now, they may be okay in the ACC, but that Louisville defense was one of the worst I've seen in many, many years. One of the games that stood out to me, JC, was another one of my mid-majors, or whatever they're called in college football, was Louisiana Tech traveling to Hattiesburg against Southern Miss.
Yeah.
La Tech was missing 30 players, made a huge comeback.
Unbelievable.
And the quarterback that led them to this and threw the game-winning touchdown on the last play of the game, his name is Luke Anthony. Okay? He's a grad transfer from Abilene Christian, whose family donated $30 million and has the Abilene Christian University field named after them.
Well, I would think so. I would think so. They could probably name a lot of things after that family. But, no, that was a tremendous, tremendous game. And so was the there was another one that was pretty tight, was that Lafayette, Georgia State game, where Lafayette, or Louisiana as they like to be called now, came back to win that game from behind, and Georgia State played them really well. And so those were some really nice, well-played, competitive type games. UCF getting 21 points in the fourth quarter stood out to me as well, when they finally put the foot down on the gas pedal and buried Georgia Tech. UCF, in their mind, UCF is the best team in the state of Florida, in their mind. And they have to play Florida before they can say that, or maybe Miami. But I really do believe they could beat, without any doubt, they could handle Florida State. They could probably handle Miami. They could probably handle a lot of these teams. It would be great to see the University of Florida and UCF play one day.
No, I agree. I thought UCF looked good. I thought they were very fast. They pretty much – They kind of toyed around with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, here's the thing. Georgia Tech, I don't know how many games they're going to win the ACC. That just goes to show you Florida State's got a lot of issues. One game that I watched some, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Tulane played the Naval Academy. 24-0. Navy looked like they couldn't beat a team in Alachua County. And then all of a sudden, they changed quarterbacks.
And look what happened.
Tulane kind of sleepwalks, and they lose the game on the last second field goal.
That was a great comeback for Navy, kind of maybe even saved their whatever kind of season they're going to have, because they really had no direction whatsoever with that first quarterback they had in there. And it's amazing, isn't it, what can change when you get another guy behind center who just doesn't mess up and makes so many silly mistakes. And it makes you wonder, what are the coaches thinking in practice when they put these guys in there who simply can't complete 10-yard out routes? And I just think that –
Navy doesn't throw 10-yard out routes.
Well, Navy can't throw anything, but they tried in some of those plays, and at some point in those games when they were behind, they tried and they still couldn't do it, even when everybody knew that they were going to have to do something down 24-0, and it was just awful to watch.
They didn't throw the ball to come back from 21-0.
They didn't.
They were running counter trap, and Tulane decided not to tackle or be in the right area. We got a Facebook Live comment brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Rick says, did JC actually watch those small school games? Didn't he complain about them last week?
I didn't complain about I'm not complaining about them. They're just not that interesting to me. But I will tell you that when they're the only games on, basically, or many of the games that were played were games like that, then I'm going to watch them. Now, when Notre Dame is up 30-something to nothing in the first quarter against Central Florida, or South Florida, I'm not going to watch that.
No, I told you that was blowout city. South Florida,
it was a blowout.
Beat Citadel. They may not win a game this year.
No, they're bad.
After the Citadel. They're terrible.
Their program is horrible, and it just shows you how far behind some of these schools can get when they don't upgrade facilities, when they don't have their own stadium, when they don't have a lot of things that these other programs they're competing for players with have these things. And so I don't see South Florida. I don't even think that's an awful job too. I mean, we saw how bad they were. So, next weekend is what I'm really excited about, though. In 6 days, we're going to get to see some teams that we're familiar with, maybe a little bit more. And I think, from 12 o'clock until 7 o'clock until 11 o'clock, it's a full day of college football. So I'm sure that's going to be a lot of what you talk about this week and what we talk about this week as the Gators get ready to start this season.
Well, the one other college game before we get into the NFL is the Big 12 to me is just very
it's pedestrian.
Disappointing, I should say.
Yeah. It's
Oklahoma State was awful. They were fortunate to win that game 16-7.
Yeah.
Tulsa, in my opinion, dominated the game. Another one of the mid-majors giving the big boys fits. But the Big 12, I think it's just Oklahoma and maybe Texas. We haven't seen Baylor play yet. But, God, they were disappointing.
They were. Texas Tech and Texas play next weekend. And I think really that conference, it will come down to whoever wins in Dallas between the two you just mentioned. So those are the two best teams, I think, in that conference. You're right. We haven't seen Baylor yet. But Matt Rule is no longer there right now. So a new coach is in place. I don't expect them to win that conference. And I think you're looking at, when it comes down to the college football playoffs, Clemson, 2 SEC schools, and maybe Ohio State if they go 8-0. Or 9-0 when they win their championship. That's what I think we're going to see. Plus, Ohio State got those 2 kids back. They're getting those 2 kids back that announced they were going to opt out prior to the announcement that the league was going to start playing football. So Ohio State now gets 2 of its better players back on the roster to play, a defensive player and some other kid, but they were not going to play, obviously, when the season was canceled. And now that they're coming back, I think Ohio State will have no problem.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State got the better end of the deal with their new scheduling. Nebraska got hosed.
Well, gee whiz, that's a shocker, isn't it? I mean, but you know what? Good for Nebraska. They stood up, they stood out, they spoke up, and this league finally, caved to the pressure, even though they don't want to admit that. That's exactly what happened. I know the testing protocols are better. I know that the testing protocols didn't get better in 40 days to the extent that it would just change every university president's mind and every athletic director's mind that it's now safe to play football. It was safe to play football when they made the bad decision on August 11th, as we have seen thus far with the season that's already been playing. With schools that can't test every day, by the way, I might say. So, they just blew it. They blew it. The ESPN guys threw a bunch of softballs to Kevin Warren on Saturday during game day, and that's fine. That's what they're supposed to do. They're all partners in this. But the real tough question should have been, hey, guy, your kid's playing at Mississippi State. They announced on September whatever it was, or in August whatever it was, that they would play in September, and you did this just the opposite. Why is it so different in the SEC than it was in the Big Ten for these decision makers? And they couldn't answer that question. They wouldn't answer that question. So they dodged it. That's fine. It doesn't matter anymore. We're playing football on October 24th for that league, but we're playing football on September 26th for the one we care about.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. September is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We're speaking with JC on the Titan More hotline.
Yep.
David wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most, why is the Big 12 so below average? That's a great question. I think it's Oklahoma and Texas. Like I said, we've yet to see Baylor play. They had a really good year last year. I think they got a lot of guys coming back. Dave Aranda's the defense coordinator from LSU is their head coach. Larry Fedor's their offensive coordinator. But, you had 3 teams lose to Sun Belt teams, and then I'll be dang, Tulsa had Oklahoma State on the ropes, and they're from Conference USA, I believe, or maybe the American. I lose track. But it's disappointing what the Big 12 is doing, no doubt about it. JC, yesterday the NFL was pretty exciting to watch if you watched it.
It was. Right, real quick though, before we move on to the move on to the NFL, did you see the AP poll with all those SEC teams in the poll? We had the latest AP poll, top 25 yesterday. Alabama 2, Georgia 4, Florida 5, LSU 6, Auburn 8, Texas A&M 10, Tennessee 16, Kentucky.
Well,
now, obviously, there's
some of those are going to change.
They will, and there's no Big Ten teams in there, obviously, for reasons we know already. But there is no sniff of a Big 12 team anywhere near that, other than Oklahoma at 3. So there you have it.
So what stood out to you yesterday in the NFL?
Yeah. So yesterday was just a miracle day in Dallas. I don't know how it's possible, but then when I think of Atlanta, I think of it's very possible to lose games that you literally have in your back pocket to win. And Atlanta is the only team since 1933 to score 39 points, have no turnovers, and lose. The record is 440-0 for teams who have scored 39 points with 0 turnovers and lose the game. That hasn't happened since 1933, since they were tracking team turnovers, and that came from the Elias Sports Bureau. Dallas is down 39-30 after they score a touchdown with 4 minutes to go, and this coach, I don't know what Mike McCarthy's thinking, but he goes for 2 to try to make it a 7-point game instead of kicking the extra point to make it a 1-score game. They missed it. So then Atlanta gets the ball back. Atlanta is forced to punt. Dallas goes back down the field, scores again, all right, and then they do kick the extra point to come within 2 points. Greg Zuerlein put a football on the field, did an onside kick. I've never seen in my life an onside kick not bounce. This ball literally spun like a Frisbee, 10 yards. The Falcons didn't fall on it. The Cowboys did. They go down 16, 20 yards. Zuerlein kicks the game winner. And the Falcons once again pull defeat out of the hands of victory and lose a game they clearly were dominating. So that was the big shocker yesterday.
Well,
I think
that to
mean,
me,
it's just crazy to me.
What's crazy is, it's a great onside kick. Give him that. But it would have never been a great onside kick if the 3 or 4 Falcons players fall on the football.
What were they doing?
The ball does not have to go 10 yards for the receiving team to fall on it.
So what were they doing?
I have no idea. You have to call up there at Atlanta and ask.
Well, Dan Quinn has to answer for this kind of crap. He's the coach, and he is. I just don't know if they're ever meant to win with this guy. I mean, they had the Super Bowl in their back pocket and blew it with bad decision making and management. And then yesterday, they didn't tell anybody when they knew an onside kick was coming. They didn't tell anybody to fall on the football. So I saw it happen with my own 2 eyes. It was nothing short of a miracle. The other thing that was impressive yesterday, I thought, with the Rams going into Philadelphia and winning for the first time since 2001. That's a 19-year stretch. Now, they never play the Eagles on a yearly basis, but they really looked good yesterday and had a lot of good offense. Goff was very accurate. Their tight end, Higbee, scored 3 times, and I thought they were impressive. Right now, the Rams and the Baltimore Ravens are the only 2 teams in the league who have held both opponents to under 20 points in both games. And that's surprising because the Rams were known to not have as good a defense, even though they may have the best defensive player in football on the field. They lost a lot of players. But when they score 37 points, they're going to be hard to deal with. I think the Ravens are going to do what the Ravens typically do, QB. They're going to win a bunch of games, and then it's going to come down to whether or not they can win a playoff game with Lamar Jackson. But he clearly had no issues yesterday in Houston. I thought Cam Newton played really well last night against Seattle, and we all knew on the last play of the game that he would get the opportunity to try to win it, and Seattle snuffed him out. So that was a pretty interesting game. This Buckner kid for Kansas City, had 3 opportunities to kick field goals from over 55 yards, and he made them all because the first one that he kicked that he made didn't count because LA called a timeout, and he kicked 2 58-yarders, one to force overtime, one to win in overtime. I don't understand what Anthony Lynn's thinking, giving Kansas City the ball in overtime when he had a 4th and 1, even though it was deep in his territory. You have to win and not give Pat Mahomes the football in overtime, and he was too scared to get a yard. And I just think that you really have seen where some teams just don't know how to finish or win games, and other teams do. And to me, the 49ers losing 4 players at the Jets was also a huge story because it looks like Bosa is going to be out for the season. It looks like Garoppolo is going to be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. It looks like Mostert, their very fast running back, is going to be out with it. I mean, just an awful, awful day for the 49ers, losing so many good players potentially for a couple of weeks and maybe one for the season in that game in New York where they complained about the field conditions. So I don't know. They have to.
I'm anxious to hear what were they saying about the field because it's a brand new turf field.
They were complaining before the game that it was not suitable for play or that it wasn't in good enough shape to have a game. And ironically, now they're going to play the Giants next week on the same field because they are going to stay in West Virginia this week instead of travel back to San Francisco and then have to go back to New York. And then they're going to come back from West Virginia on Friday and go back to New York with 4 guys that they won't have that they did have against the Jets. So I tell you, Arizona looks pretty strong defensively too, QB. So there's just some things that I noticed watching all of the games yesterday because I watched them all.
You watched them all. Well, yeah, there was some exciting games, no doubt about it. It's going to be an exciting week.
What stuck out for you? What stood out for you in the NFL yesterday? Anything special?
I flipped around. I thought the Jags. I think Gardner Minshew is a really good player. He just has a feel how to play the position.
How about Robinson? How about that kid Robinson running the football for Jacksonville?
Yeah, he's a good player. Jay Gruden's made a world of difference calling plays for them.
Yeah.
The Jags got some good young players, but yeah, it was fun to watch. I thought the NFL was very entertaining yesterday.
It was. It really was.
It's interesting to me how teams are playing the Chiefs defensively. They're not allowing them to have a lot of big plays. They're trying to keep everything in front.
Yeah.
And Mahomes probably won't have the numbers that he's had the last couple of years if teams continue to play that way. But they found a way to win the game, and you got to tip your hat to them.
I do tip my hat to the Chiefs. I mean, they are winners, and they have really the Chargers did everything you would ask them to do, and I thought their quarterback played well as well. The rookie, but the Chargers are a really good defensive team, and could have and probably maybe even should have won that game, but nevertheless, these NFL games really do come down to the last, 6 minutes in many of these cases in the fourth quarter because of how close the scores are. And, some of the disappointments I think you could say would be Minnesota yesterday, that awful performance against the Colts. My Lions are just dead. I think that coach has got to go. They're just wasting the quarterback there. It's a shame because this guy Patricia, who was the hot commodity coming out of New England, right? Everybody wants to hire Belichick's guy. He comes to Detroit. He's won 1 out of 3 games there in the last couple of years, and I just don't see that team responding to him. So I don't see them succeeding. I thought they would. I thought they were better, but they're not. Then after 2 games, of course, things could change. But Arizona showed me something. This Kyler Murray, I may have been wrong about him. I didn't think he'd be as exciting or nearly as effective as he is right now. And certainly their defense is playing really well in Arizona. So even though it was against a team not noted for a lot of offense, Arizona put it on San Francisco the week before, and that was a team that you don't see Cliff Kingsbury's teams play really good aggressive defense that often. At least I haven't seen it yet, and maybe he got the hint. If he wants to stay as a head coach, he better learn how to stop people, and that's what Arizona's doing. So I'm pretty happy with Arizona. I think the NFC West has 3 teams at 2-0 and 1 team at 1-1. The NFC East has 2 teams that are 0-2 and 2 teams that are 1-1 and should be 0-2. So, you really do have a difference in these divisions.
All right, JC, we're going to take our first time out, and we're going to talk to a real golfer named JC when we get rid of you.
That's great. Okay.
All right, JC.
Man.
We'll talk to you Wednesday. That's Johnny Cornell. Join us on the Titan MR hotline at Center State Bank. We put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. And understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Going to take a first time out of the program. When we come back, we'll be joined by head golf coach for the University of Florida, J.C. Deacon, talking about his career, his team, and the U.S. Open. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. GTS Handyman Services, whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting in Gainesville, they are the team to hire. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Points, where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by the head golf coach at the University of Florida, J.C. Deacon. Good morning, J.C. How are you?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Doing great. J.C., before I get into your career and coaching and all that, we got to talk about the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Winged Foot?
I have not. It's been on my bucket list for a long time, and it was awesome to be up there last week. But it was a huge tease at the same time for a golf geek like myself, because it's probably the coolest property I've ever seen golf-wise. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it looks great on TV. It's on my bucket list as well. One of your players, Ricky Castillo, was playing there as an amateur. Didn't make the cut, but have you talked to him since he's been back?
Yeah, I had a bunch of conversations with Ricky. He's obviously really disappointed. I think that's a good thing in a sense. He really feels like he can start competing at that level, and he just didn't hit the ball well enough this week. It was as simple as that. His short game was about as good as anyone's, but he just didn't hit enough fairways. And then the second round, he kind of hit some more fairways in some tough conditions, but his iron game was off, wedge game was off, and you just make enough mistakes around there, you're going to pay the price. The conditions were extremely severe.
Let me ask you this, because I love watching golf. I love watching the PGA Tour, but I have a hard time watching when Dustin Johnson or whoever shoots 23 under par at the Bell South Open or whatever it could be called. My question to you, why can't they make week in and week out tournaments, make the conditions pretty tough where 7-8 under par wins the tournament? Is it because the players are going to bitch and complain?
Well, I think the first thing is, I watched this neat documentary on Instagram last night about the Winged Foot staff and what went into preparing for this championship. And it started like 3 years ago. And so the preparation that a club has to undertake to be prepared for a U.S. Open is crazy. And I just don't think, I know the USGA is obviously helping Winged Foot financially and supporting them to make the course the way they want it. So I think it's probably more that than anything, the amount of resources that go into grow in the rough and making sure the greens are going to be firm enough. And I think Wingfoot brought their fairways in 10 or 15 yards of what the members would normally see. So it's just almost like a complete renovation of a golf course to get it ready for an open. And then I think the other thing is, I don't think the tour guys want to get their teeth kicked in week in and week out. They're great players and they're used to making birdies, and that's a heck of a lot more fun than grinding for par, every other hole.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, JC, let's talk about your career a little bit. You grew up in Canada, decided to go play college golf at UNLV. What other choices did you have, or did you want to be a running rebel?
Well, I was actually really wanted to play for Buddy Alexander. I was going to high school down at the IMG Academy over in Sarasota, and Buddy was the absolute legend, especially in this state, coaching the Gators, and just wasn't probably quite good enough at that point to really catch his eye. He obviously had the pick of the litter. But I was looking at LSU a little bit. I took a visit to Oklahoma State, looked at Tennessee. Thankfully, I didn't go to LSU or Tennessee. That would have been a terrible decision. But landed at UNLV, and it was the best decision I could have made. Coach Knight was just unbelievable. He's still like a second dad to me, and played for a great man, and had a great time in college. We had 4 really competitive teams. My college roommate was Ryan Moore, who's had a unbelievable, I guess almost 20-year PGA Tour career now. So I was really, really lucky to land there, and then Coach Knight gave me my start.
So after your playing day, every college golfer, just like every football player, wants to go play professionally. You got to play on the Canadian Tour, some other tours. Tell our listeners how difficult it is to make it on tour.
Yeah, so that was probably my dream, to play professional golf since I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. And I first turned pro, and I had a little bit of success on the mini tours early. Wasn't winning anything necessarily, but was making some money and hanging in there, and then got my Canadian Tour card. And you just realize the depth. And I'm sure, all those years that you spent in the NFL, you see the same thing. There's just so many great players. And it's gotten even worse in golf now. I mean, the depth is crazy. And I learned that pretty quick. I had a decent year. I think maybe my first year on the Canadian Tour, finished 25th or 27th on the money list, and probably broke even, something like that, financially that year. And then it just got harder, and I just wasn't playing well. And my last go at it, I was at second stage of Q school. And if you get to the finals, you have a job the following year on, I think it was the web.com at that time, or a chance to get to the PGA Tour. And I remember I finished birdie, par. I made a great up and down for par on my 72nd hole at second stage of Q school in Texas. And I missed by 1 shot. And that was like a sign that maybe this wasn't for me. And 3 months later, Coach Knight called and said, I got an opening as my assistant, and I think you'd enjoy it. And my bank account was screaming at me to go and do that. So I took him up on it, and I fell in love with the job probably 2 weeks later. So I was super, super lucky to fall in there.
We're speaking with Coach JC Deacon on the Titan MRI hotline. You can follow him on Twitter at real JC Deacon, not the fake one, the real one. So JC, you coach at UNLV, and just as an assistant, and then the Florida Gators come a calling. It's usually you got to have some kind of head coaching experience to take over a program like a Florida. Why do you think they came after JC Deacon to take over the Gator Golf program?
I don't know. Probably a few reasons. I think working for Coach Knight, he gave me the reins to the program. He was amazing. Let me recruit. Let me, run our golf tournament, the Southern Highlands Collegiate Masters. He let me do a lot of things that kind of accelerated my learning curve. And so running that tournament, we host some of the best teams in the country at UNLV every year. So I got to know the Buddy Alexanders, the John Fields, the JT Higgins, some of the bigger name coaches in the game. And luckily enough, when the Florida job came open, my athletic director at UNLV. His name's Jim Livengood. Wonderful guy. One of the best human beings I've met. He happened to be very close with Jeremy Foley. So I begged him and asked him to put in a call. So he said, hey, I called Jeremy, told him all about you, and now the rest is up to you. So I got an interview. I was the only assistant coach to be interviewed. I think they interviewed 6 different guys. And I remember going to, Mike Spiegler. Mike picked me up at the airport, and we went to dinner. And we were sitting at the Bonefish Grill, and, usually you have about an hour meal there. We sat there for like 2.5 hours talking shop and figuring out the roster. And I just remember coming home and telling my wife, like, I have to get this job. These people are unbelievable. Jeremy was like a god when I met him. He just had an aura about him that I wanted to be a part of. And I knew I could learn a lot. And it was just a place that I wanted to be. So I had to wait almost a month. It was 3 weeks because they had to interview all those other candidates. I was the first one of 6 to go. So I was just sitting there, literally getting a taste of my dream job and thinking of all these things that I would want to do with the program. And I had to wait for them to make a decision. And I was actually in the Las Vegas airport picking up a recruit who was coming on a visit that day. And Jeremy Foley popped up on my phone and said, hey, I just want to know if you want to be my next golf coach. And my heart sank, and the rest, I guess, is history. And but we got a lot of work to do. And I told Jeremy I'm going to win him a national championship and a couple SECs. So I've got to pay that bill.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, JC, so you got here in 2014. You've had some good players come through here. Sam Horsfield's one of them who won. I don't know if it's a European tour, but overseas somewhere. Obviously, You got Ricky Castillo. Talk a little bit about some of your players, but also let our listeners know, how difficult is it to recruit high school kids to come to college to play golf? Because if I'm not mistaken, you don't have a whole lot of money to offer them, right?
Yeah, so we only have 4.5 scholarships to fill out our entire roster. So we're an equivalency sport, and you have to divide that 4.5 up between your entire roster. So it definitely makes it difficult, and sometimes the scholarship negotiations are difficult and uncomfortable, but it's part of the job. But we've been really lucky. Sam was one of my first priorities when I got to Florida, and we've become really, really close. He actually turned pro after 2 years, but he won the Phil Mickelson Award as National Freshman of the Year in 2015-16. He was just phenomenal that year, won twice, might have won 3 times. I think he won 3 times his freshman year, and that really kind of kick-started what we're doing. And Sam just gave us a lot of credibility, and there's some other, Alejandro Tosti played really well on that team. Sam's second year, we were national #1 seed at regionals, and it just kind of got us off and running. And then Andy Zhang came along. He won the SEC championship in 2018 or 19, and then Alejandro Tosti won a SEC championship as well. So we've had a ton of individual success. You mentioned Ricky Castillo there. Ricky won the Phil Mickelson Award for National Freshman of the Year last year. So there's been lots of individual success, and we just got to take it to the next level and have some team success. We're really close. This is the best team I've ever had. If COVID, hopefully we get to play this fall and next spring and show everyone how good we are. But we got a ton of depth, a ton of talent, and these guys are working their tails off. They've got a chip on their shoulder and a lot to prove. So super excited, and just kind of crossing our fingers that we get to go out there and do it.
Hey, Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We're speaking with Coach JC Deacon on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. We got a text here from Jim. Jim wants to know, JC, what's your favorite course you've ever played?
Ooh, well, it's got to be Augusta National. Fred Ridley, who's the chairman of the Masters, he had our team down in the fall of winter, January 2019, and we got a clear day. It was about 40 degrees at Augusta, and it was a dream come true. I'd always thought that place looked amazing, and it was like 10 times better in person. So Augusta was really special, but my home course, Beacon Hall, back in Toronto, That's probably my favorite course with the most memories in the whole world. But playing Augusta and, where Tiger chipped in and, all these guys have hit these incredible shots. It was an amazing day to be out there.
So when did you and the team go down there? What month? Would you say December?
I think it was, I want to say it was January of 2019.
Okay.
I'm
okay,
like,
so
yeah.
So it's only a couple of months, because the Masters is coming up in mid-November this year.
Yeah.
How do you think the course is going to be different than when they play in the spring?
I think it's going to be a lot different. I do. From what I'm hearing, they don't get as much rain that time of year, so it's going to be firmer. That could be awesome. If it's firm and fast out there and those greens have a little bounce to them, you could, you were talking earlier about liking to see those guys grind and be over par. You could be seeing that this November if it's firm out there, because those green complexes are like nothing I've ever seen. And if those fairways get running, and it could be a really great test for those guys. But yeah, it's going to be different. Probably the colors that everyone's used to with the flowers and all that stuff will be a little different, but I think it's going to be awesome. And so I saw something last night that, the next two majors in golf are going to be at Augusta National. That's pretty cool.
That is. I didn't think about that. We got a Facebook Live question here for you, JC. It's from Jeff. Jeff wants to know, it's brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Jeff wants to know, do other schools have more scholarship money, or is that the playing field level in golf?
Yeah, so that's just an NCAA rule. So the maximum allowed scholarship for NCAA men's golf is 4.5 scholarships. So we use right up to our limit. I mean, the University of Florida just provides every resource we need to be successful, and they don't short us on anything. So it's on us now to go out there and take care of business and bring some championships back to Gainesville.
You've won a lot of tournaments in your career as an amateur and all as a professional, but you were selected to be one of the coaches for the Arnold Palmer Cup in 2021. Talk a little bit about that and what that means to you.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest honors that I've ever had. I still can't really believe it. I guess I tell everyone, my brother has 3 sons, and his middle son's name is Palmer. And that's how much that name means to our family. My dad got pretty emotional when I called and told him that I was going to get to represent Arnold Palmer in this small way. And it's a neat honor, a great opportunity. And it's going to be a great chance to be around some of the best international players in college golf. And we got some neat ideas being kicked around already. So we're going to make sure we show those kids a great week. And I get to go against my great friend, Greg Sands. He's the head coach at Texas Tech, and he'll be coaching the USA team that week. So there'll probably be a lot of banter, and it's going to be a blast for everyone. So we're really looking forward to that.
Very cool. All right, JC, I got to ask you this. I'm an avid golfer, started playing when I got to college, love the game, but I had Anthony Nesty, who's the men's swimming coach, on. And, swimming it's a team sport. Golf's a team sport in college, but it's also an individual portion to it. What kind of coach are you? Because, as a football player, basketball coach or whatever, when a guy makes a mistake or, coaches get up in their face and screaming and yelling and cussing, what kind of coach is JC Deacon when a guy, well, I don't know how many college golfers hit a shank, but what from a mental standpoint, how do you handle your players, I guess?
Well, it's a great question. I think this is the main reason why I've tried to stay competitive in golf. And I think that's a neat thing for me as a coach. I can still play in the state open. I played in my first PGA Tour event in 2019 at the Canadian Open. So I've been trying to stay competitive because you remember how hard the sport is. And I think my first few years in coaching, when I wasn't playing as much, you kind of forget, and you're watching these guys who are so talented and so great at what they do, and it just starts to look easy. And, they shoot 75 or 76 one day, and you're like, what are you doing? And you don't understand why they're making this mistake or why they're missing that 3-footer. And me getting back into the competitive side and trying to prepare for things and being nervous and uncomfortable, I think it's been really advantageous to feel those things, because you have some empathy for your guys. It's just a hard game. you never wake up feeling the same. And that's what makes it so difficult is, one day you're flushing that high draw and it seems like the easiest game in the world. And then the next day you wake up and you're hitting weak cuts out to the right. And it makes no sense. And I think that's why we all love it so much and get addicted, but it's an extremely difficult game. And so I try to be an empathetic coach. I'm not always that way. I'm extremely competitive, probably too competitive sometimes, but, and I want to win, but I think we've done a better job as of late recruiting guys who feel the same way as me. So if I'm upset with a loss or upset with our performance, I think our guys now are going to feel the same way. It's not like, they're coming here to finish second. This team's here for one reason. They want to win, and they want to win everything that they touch. And I think when we're all going in that same direction, it helps you be a little bit more of yourself. And that's competitive, but I'm definitely still got some empathy in there for how hard the game is. And, you said it. I think when a player hits a bad shot, they weren't trying to do that. And I think sometimes coaches get that a little crossed up that, they weren't trying to screw up. They want it just as bad as you do. And so I'm looking forward to having fun, but, we've got some business to handle this year, and I'm excited to get going here in a couple weeks.
So when you look at the length of whether it's college players, guys on the tour, is it technology or just kids are stronger, more flexible these days? I mean, some of these guys like Justin Thomas and Ricky Fowler, I mean, these are some small dudes just pounding the golf ball.
Yeah.
Would you say it's technology?
There's a mix. Obviously, I think the golf ball is incredible these days with how it flies and how efficient it is. Obviously, drivers have gotten better and hotter. The USGA kind of put a limit on that a few years ago, which I think was a really good thing. So a driver's not going to be getting any hotter than it is now. But I think it's a combination. I think players got a little bit of a taste of hitting it far. And then you see guys like Bryson, who literally last November, he told the whole world, I'm going to come back stronger, bigger, faster. And he did it. He put on 40 pounds or whatever it was, and he put on 10 miles an hour of swing speed, and the dude is just bombing it. And he just won a US Open doing it. And I think a lot of people said, well, put him on a tight course with rough and he's going to really struggle. Well, he just won the US Open by 6, I think. So that theory is pretty empty already. And it shows you how much of an advantage distance is. Like I saw him yesterday on the 10th hole. It's playing like 210, 205 or something like that. And the guy's hitting an 8-iron. And, maybe it was a little downwind, but come on, like he's smashing the golf ball. And when you get that much loft in your hand, those guys are going to be able to control it really well. And so as we move on, I think the strength aspect is going to be huge. And if you're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old and you're ignoring that, you're crazy. So we've got our guys in the gym. We've got them on nutrition plans. We're doing everything we possibly can to put on mass, strength, all that speed. And Ricky was a great example. Ricky came to Florida probably swinging 113, 114 with kind of a high 160s ball speed. And he put on 30 pounds last year with the help of our strength trainer, Patrick Lewis. And Ricky was up to like 176, 177 ball speed. So he put on 10 miles an hour ball speed in 1 year at Florida, but he put in the work. I mean, the guy was eating a large pizza once a week on his own. And so there's fun, when you're that age, you get to do that stuff and that's how you gain weight, but it's hard work and it's dedication. And that's what you need to do to get to the highest level these days.
We're speaking with Coach J.C. Deacon. Got a few more minutes left with him. My question for you, Coach, is y'all play in the fall and spring, correct?
Yep.
So your fall, when are y'all expected to possibly start playing with all COVID going on?
So hopefully we get the entire Gator Nation to say a little prayer and cross their fingers. We're supposed to start October 5th. And these kids really need this. They got their spring taken away last year, and we hadn't had much competition. And our guys, I think it's been a good thing for us if we do get to start. You take things for granted and you think it's just going to keep happening forever. And when our golf team and golf program got taken away from all of us, you just appreciate how special it is and how great we have it here at the University of Florida. And so we're really excited to go. And these guys have made some great sacrifices and commitments to being ready and staying healthy. And so we're supposed to start October 5th. Is going to be the first round of the Blessings Collegiate Invitational. It's going to be live on the Golf Channel, so Gator Nation will be able to follow. So October 5th to 7th, 3 rounds. Our women's team, coached by Emily Glazer, they'll be there as well, and should be a really exciting event for us to kick the year off.
Last thing for you, Coach. You get to play in a fivesome. You and who are your other 4? Your dream foursome to play with? Who would it be?
Oh man, Tiger's definitely in there. He's like the greatest influence on my golf career. Probably be Tiger Woods, my dad, my brother, and probably have to throw. Let me see, our buddy John Drake Jr. back in Canada. He'd be fun because he's always easy money on the golf course. So we'll put him in there.
So would you ask Tiger for any shots, or would you play him straight up?
I'd have to play him straight up. He'd wax me, and I'd be happy to pay that bet. But I wouldn't have the guts to ask Tiger for shots. I'd have to give him my best shot.
Coach, appreciate you taking the time this morning. Good luck to the golf team this year. We'll keep our fingers crossed that y'all can tee it up October 5th. But I appreciate you joining the show, my man.
Shane, thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate everything you do for the Gators, and we'll go out there and try and make you guys proud.
All right, that's Coach J.C. Deacon. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our final time out of the day. When we come back, we're going to wrap this show up. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey, Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. GTS Handyman Services, whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting in Gainesville, they are the team to hire. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. This Day in Sports is brought to you by GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. Whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting, fences mended, or any handyman services, call GTS 352-363-6622. We're going to actually do 2 plays of the day. Yesterday, Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. The Nuggets are trying to force game 1-1 in the series, but Anthony Davis hits a fall-away three-pointer at the buzzer to put the Lakers up 2-0. Our other play of the day was the last play of the game last night in the Sunday night game. Cam Newton trying to score from the 1-yard line on a quarterback power. Seattle stuffs him, and they win the game 35-30. Those plays of the day are brought to you by GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. Really want to thank Johnny Cornell for joining us, and then J.C. Deacon, head golf coach at the University of Florida, talking U.S. Open and his Gator golf team. We wish them luck this year, this fall, and in the spring. Tomorrow we'll have Mark McGriff join the program. Then Wednesday we'll have Bobby Bowden and Mark Campbell on Friday, and we got our high school segment with Brent Beard on Thursday. Hey, folks, make sure you like us and follow us on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Today's show is a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.